Sergey Kovalev, Eleider Alvarez 2. I got Sergey Kovalev. Kovalev, many people say he lost his soul. Well, I disagree. I think the man has a lot of demons, but the man can fight. And I think that especially that style of Eleider Alvarez, that style of Andre Ward, that style of Isaac Chilamba, that style of a Bernard Hopkins. These styles, they bother Sergey Kovalev. That's why I don't take any credit away from Eleider Alvarez, don't give any extra credit to Andre Ward, and I don't really blame the outside of the ring excuses. There's a reason Sergey Kovalev got to the top and was regarded as one of the most dangerous fighters in the world pound for pound. Has he lost since then? Has he been found out a little bit? I don't think we gave Eleider Alvarez enough credit before and after the fight. He's one hell of a fighter. He proved that in the first fight, and really, if you look closely, he proved that before that when he fought Lucien Bute and dismantled this dude, when he fought Jean-Pascal, shut this dude out. Granted, slower, older versions of these fighters, but he did what he had to do and he did it pretty impressively. Is he the biggest puncher? Is Andre Ward the biggest puncher? Was Bernard Hopkins the biggest puncher? These well-rounded dudes, they go under the radar. And I can't blame you. They're not supposed to catch your eye. Not on first glance anyway. Now, Sergey Kovalev has a new trainer. He did have a pretty decent trainer in John David Jackson. People say Sergey Kovalev got a little lazy, got a little lax. Maybe John David Jackson got a little lax also. He allowed Sergey Kovalev to deviate from what made him as an amateur to the early pros. Was it only power? But I think Kovalev fans, and maybe even detractors, they knew, especially after fighting Bernard Hopkins, that there was more to Sergey Kovalev, like there's more to Gennady Golovkin. What catches the eye, what makes them marketable, is their power. Something that's maybe more of a natural gift, as flashy as refining your basic skill set day for day, for weeks, for months, in preparation for a fight. Sergey Kovalev had a couple other fights, the fight before that, when he lost to Eleider Alvarez, with a Russian amateur trainer. Maybe that's another way of just saying, I want to be comfortable. Maybe John David Jackson had thrown in the towel. Kovalev, a rebellious pupil, might have rejected helpful advice. Maybe that's even given too much credit to John David Jackson. We don't know, we weren't there. But at one time it seemed like John David Jackson had just accepted what he had in Sergey Kovalev, gonna ride that train into the ground, while more and more showing his flaws. He was still winning, he just had to step up against a certain type of fighter. A fighter of the level of Andre Ward. Then they were exposed. Getting by isn't cutting it. Dudes like Andre Ward, they feast on dudes trying to get by. And it's a disservice to Andre Ward to underestimate his heart and his ruggedness, just saying Sergey Kovalev never faced a skillful fighter like Andre Ward. That wouldn't give Sergey Kovalev enough credit for his skill set, because in the first fight he was outboxing Andre Ward. I had it good for Kovalev by one round. He got beat by a hungry fighter. There's a reason Andre Ward is undefeated since he was a teenager. That's because he's still hungry. Eleider Alvarez, still hungry. I hope he is. Or he'll get found out, because Sergey Kovalev is too good a boxer, too good a puncher. I'm just gonna believe him in this case. Like, I wasn't believing him going into the first Eleider Alvarez fight. Not that I was picking Eleider Alvarez necessarily, but I could see an upset in the making. I don't know if I made a video, but I made a video for the Adonis Stevenson Badou Jack fight. I picked Badou Jack in that fight. That was a draw. And actually Badou Jack kinda underperformed, in my opinion. An easy opinion to have from the couch. In a way, he proved me right. Long reigning champions, getting a little lax, whether it's in competition or in preparation, with enough flaws to get found out against hungry fighters. Maybe Badou Jack underperforming was also a case of him moving up in weight. You know, Nathan Cleverly isn't really the acid test to legitimize yourself at a new weight class. Kovalev is with Buddy McGirt. I've heard Robert Garcia talk about Buddy McGirt and give him a lot of credit for the game plan he came up with for Sergey Lipinets, who was defending his IBF super lightweight title against Mikey Garcia, got beat in a decision, in a tough fight. Mikey Garcia calls it his toughest fight up to date. He's got another tough one coming up though. But Garcia gave a lot of credit to Buddy McGirt. Buddy McGirt is a former trainer of the year, I believe, when he helped Antonio Tarver to beat Roy Jones Jr. I think he also was at the helm of Arturo Gati's second run of his career, and he was pretty much counted out, you know. Yeah man, Buddy McGirt is a good trainer, but what do I know, really? Buddy McGirt is big on basics, and that's what he tried to make a point to Sergey Kovalev, his training camp. Like, how about using your jab, Sergey? Got one of the best jabs in the game. How about using it, you know, consistently? That was the punch giving Andre Ward a lot of trouble. And actually also Eleider Alvarez. It's just that in the first fight, Sergey Kovalev never really found his footing. You know, he never really got into a rhythm. He kind of was getting outboxed, being overly aggressive early, then tried to kind of find his way into the fight. I think even after getting rocked also, at least like touched up a little bit, losing a couple of rounds. I don't know how you had it, but not that I have a scorecard, but I kind of can recall how it kind of went, you know, from my perspective. I think Kovalev tried to shoeshine himself into a rhythm, but he kind of failed in that. Although no, he didn't fail. What am I talking about? He actually succeeded, man. He found a rhythm, then started using his jab, actually started boxing on the back foot rather comfortably, and then got hit, man. Got lazy. Too comfortable, you know? I don't know. I attribute it to the late start he had into the fight, and we know Kovalev, man. He's vulnerable, you know? He doesn't really throw left hooks. He doesn't really throw body shots. These are big factors that his opponent can kind of exploit, you know what I mean? Or at least he has it in his tool bag. He'll go to the body. Kovalev won't. He'll throw left hooks. I believe a right hand was the punch that stunned Kovalev. That's because he kind of drops his hands, you know what I mean? Throws a jab, drops his hands waist high. He has an interesting style anyway, you know? Like, people talk about his right hand, Kovalev's right hand. I'm sure it's a big punch of his, but what catches my eye is that left jab, man. The jab. Throws it as a power punch, you know? He throws an up jab, and he'll also like throw a right hand and then throw a jab. He ends his combinations with jabs. If you watch Alexander Gvozdyk, you can kind of tell he patterned himself after Sergey Kovalev. Sergey Kovalev, like they say, man, kind of got lazy, kind of predictable. But he was a pretty dangerous fighter, man. I still say it, man. He showed me his flaws and also his best, kinda, in the Bernard Hopkins fight. I think Bernard doesn't get enough credit, you know, for going the distance with Sergey Kovalev and in little spots exposing Sergey Kovalev, especially in the later rounds. Even in the early rounds, you know, Kovalev very hesitant, which helped Kovalev. He never fell for the trap. That's actually what we can give Kovalev credit for, you know. We've seen so many dudes kinda played the wrong way. Chad Dawson did it to Bernard, you know what I mean? I like Kovalev, man. I like him, regardless of any bad press he gets. I like kind of the honesty, you know. I like the fighter too. I liked the ruthless demeanor, vicious at times. No regrets though, seemingly, unless it's from main events. Aegis Klimas. Like, Sergey always seemed to want to play it real, you know, but he didn't help himself, but also he was a little misunderstood, underappreciated a tad, you know. Feared, but somewhat underappreciated. We tend to just throw him into that one-tracked aggressor side bag, whatever. But I can appreciate Sergey Kovalev, and I think this Eleider Alvarez rematch is gonna be a really good fight. I'm picking Kovalev, man. I'm picking Kovalev by a late stoppage. If he can follow the game plan of Buddy McGirt, if he can fight behind his jab, you know what I mean? Make Eleider Alvarez make mistakes. Don't let the smaller, seemingly less skillful fighter. When I say skillful though, I mean a specific kind of skill. Fleet-footed on the outside, jabbing and moving, countering, forcing out counters, feints, stuff like that, you know? That would be Kovalev in my mind. He should fight his fight, man. He should fight his fight. I'm not saying be on the back foot, necessarily. I'm just saying use all your skills, be the smart fighter in there. If he can do that, man, if he can use his jab. Because actually Eleider Alvarez was winning the battle of the jab. He had that little in-between rhythm going, you know. He was timing Kovalev a lot. Although, like, Kovalev is still a dangerous fighter, especially if he opens up on you. We've seen Eleider times like kind of shell up, seemingly cowering, but I think actually he was able to smother a lot and physically bully Kovalev, walk him down in the clinch and stuff, walk him to the ropes. He was able to make Kovalev a little lazy, not anticipate much coming back, you know what I mean, especially if he's opening up. And then he caught him in a lull, you know, timed him, hurt him, dropped him, didn't let him recover, man. Then you gotta give the guy credit for all the talk that he can't punch. He finished like a puncher, you know what I mean? Like a Oscar De La Hoya, that type of finishing skill, you know? Not a lot of fighters have that. The Charlos have that, you know? They jump on you. Anthony Joshua has that. Deontay Wilder does have that. Tyson Fury doesn't have that, man. And I'm a Fury fan. I can understand Freddie Roach, like, sidetracking real quick. I can understand Freddie Roach criticizing the trade and Tyson Fury for their tactics in the later rounds. There was more opportunities, you know, to take advantage of a smaller Deontay Wilder, man, who has his own flaws, you know, on the inside. I get it, he's an explosive puncher and everything. Maybe that had a lot more to do also with rust. But there was more opportunity to gamble, because even while they didn't gamble, they kind of got rocked there, you know what I mean? If they didn't get put down twice, they would have won the fight. Maybe the approach of Freddie Roach isn't the best, but, you know, I think he had a point. But also Freddie, he likes to talk to the media, so. And he gives a lot of good quotes Freddie Roach, you know, very available. In a era, man, where people, like reporters, try the hardest to make up quotes or put words in the mouth of fighters, trainers, you know what I mean? Exaggerated laughs at jokes that aren't funny or aren't even meant to fucking make you laugh. Like just a statement, and a reporter will like turn into fucking Big Mama, you know what I mean? Yeah, man, but back to Kovalev and Eleider Alvarez, you know? Like I say, hey, and I don't wanna, like I said, I don't want to take anything away. Like that style Eleider Alvarez has, that beats Sergey Kovalev. That's a tricky style for him, but I don't know. I'm kind of rooting for Sergey. It's the weirdest thing, man. It's the weirdest thing. Sometimes a dude is an anti-hero, you know? And I'm kind of rooting for Sergey. He got humbled enough. You know what I mean? Let's take him back. But like I say, man, that style is a problem. Andre Ward is similar, man. Especially in the second fight. Look how Andre Ward dogged him. That was ugly. But why is it that I'm giving Sergey Kovalev an advantage at least? You know, he has that new trainer. He has told us a couple of times now. So that's not smart. Like, my assessment isn't smart. Like, a couple of times he has talked about like bad training, all the excuses in the world, drinking, whatever, man. Too much time on Twitter, whatever. He's made excuses, man, but how many excuses are you gonna have, you know? How many times are you gonna have excuses, man? How many times are we gonna fall for that shit? That's the question, man. So, I'm not gonna be upset or, you know, talk shit on Kovalev after the fight if he loses this fight. It's a personal pick for me, you know? I'm making this decision. I should learn from past mistakes, but it's not like I was always picking Sergey Kovalev. Like, I picked Andre Ward both fights. I kind of saw that coming with Eleider Alvarez, but I wasn't picking him, you know what I mean? Let's be real. And that's why I'm not picking him this time, man. I don't think Eleider Alvarez is as good as Andre Ward. I don't think so. I think Sergey Kovalev should beat the quality of Eleider Alvarez, regardless of that style is somewhat bothersome. Like, champions work through that shit, man, even if it's bothersome, you know? I think Eleider, man, he got Kovalev at the right time. He had to reinvent himself mentally, spiritually, somewhat. He wasn't on the right track, man. He had one sinister look on him at the face-off, at the weigh-in. He looked scary, bro. Like, the way Sergey Kovalev looked at Bernard Hopkins, he looked kind of scary. But he wasn't talking shit too much, you know. The only thing, that little jab maybe, when Eleider Alvarez at the press conference got his turn to talk, you know, and they were asking Eleider to speak in English, or if he can speak in English. And I believe Sergey Kovalev told Eleider, he kind of interjected, you know. He asked Eleider to speak in English, you know, and was kind of laughing. And Eleider was quick with the rebuttal, man. He said, I don't understand too much English, but I understand you. Yeah, man, shut the crush up quick. Anyway, man, I'm picking Sergey. For whatever it's worth, thanks for listening. Peace out.